Greenville very own attorney, Stephen Bray.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here with you. I didn't bring anything to read to you here today. I just want to speak to you for a few minutes from my heart. Many of you in the room have been around a long time and have known me for probably 15 or 20 years. Some of you just been to, perhaps this is your first convention. How many are here for the first time? Give yourself a hand. I appreciate you being out here with us. Thank you. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a native of South Carolina. Grew up down in Charleston. My parents still live there. Product of the public schools there in Charleston for 9 years. Went from there to the Phillips Exeter Academy. Had this tremendous opportunity to go to Phillips Exeter, a fine prep school, out of the blue. I'm the first member of my family to have the opportunity to go to college. I went to Johns Hopkins University, and then from there I came back home to South Carolina. I didn't want people to think I was a Yankee. I've been educated up north so long, I need to get back home. Graduated from USC Law School. But when I was in New Hampshire, I was there for the 1976 presidential election cycle. I met a gentleman by the name of Governor Ronald Reagan. I became engaged with Ronald Reagan, confident in him and confident in the conservative message that he was bringing. I've been involved with that all along. In 1980, I was at Detroit, Michigan, where he was nominated as our presidential nominee that year, went on to win the presidency. I served in the United States Navy Reserve. I want to mention that because we have the Army represented here. I want to make sure I stand up for the United States Navy here as well. There we go. You all know, I just want to make sure you understand, I served as chairman of this party. I did all the volunteer positions you can do. I was a precinct committeeman, I was a vice chairman of the party, et cetera, et cetera. I've been a national delegate several times to the national convention. But this is what distinguishes me from my colleagues that are running for this position. I want you to hear me clearly. We need to speak plainly. We need to speak the truth, not only here in South Carolina, but throughout the nation, so that people understand the battle that we're facing. I think we're about to be engaged in the biggest battle of political ideas since the Civil War. That's what we're about. That is what's going on here. Now, I want to tell you why I'm running for this office. Some of you might not have heard much from me in the last few years. If you think back on it, despite my Republican pedigree, which I believe will stand up to anybody's scrutiny, we had a Republican president elected in 2000. We had both houses of Congress held by Republicans. And think about those years. During those years, they increased the debt limit multiple times. They passed budgets larger than the Democratic Congresses before them had ever passed. Medicare Part D, one of the largest social programs in recent years, given to you by the Republicans. And then the icing on the cake, the cherry on the top of the sundae, if you will, President Bush, John McCain, Senator Graham wanted to give amnesty to illegal immigrants. Senator Jim DeMint said, no, we're not going to have it. I stand with Jim DeMint then, I stand with Jim DeMint now. Not all Republicans are really the same. I don't earn my living in the political world. I've never made a penny in the political world. I've got defeats in the political process to prove that as well. But the point is, I'm willing to stand up and speak the truth. And it's important that the Republican Party take the right stand on these issues. Just today, even today from this podium, you heard some comments about how well Boehner's doing and we're set up to defeat the Democrats in the future. Think about that. They cut a deal to cut $38 billion out of the current budget deficit when the deficit is $1.5 trillion for this year alone on top of a $14 trillion debt. $38 billion is insignificant. That is not a substantial arrangement. I texted Trey Gowdy, our congressman, who I have great confidence in and I'm very proud of, and Trey texted back to me because I've not been able to get hold of the data as early as I left this morning. He let me know that he, along with the other 4 members of our Republican delegation, all 5 of them, Tim Scott, Jeff Duncan, Mick Mulvaney, Trey Gowdy, and Joe Wilson, they all voted against the deal. So I'm going to give them a hand up. It's not all about just loading up to Republicans because they wear the R, have the R after their name. There are Republicans in our General Assembly who do not vote with us on key platform issues. We have to defeat the Democrats, and we will do that. But look, we've already won all the constitutional offices. We have, 77 now, I believe, members in the State House. We have a majority in the State Senate, and we still can't pass important legislation that we need to get through. And there's one simple reason, and I'm the only candidate pushing this reason. It's because we have Democrats and independents voting in our primaries. We have to stop that. And what I mean by that is I'm the one pushing it. I was working with Greg Shorey back in the 1990s to push this issue. We were initially unsuccessful. We worked on it for years. We worked on it for years to get the Republican Party as a whole to now support it. I believe each of the persons running for chairman also pay lip service to that fact. But I'm out there working to make it happen. I'm not talking one way to one group and a different way to another group. And this is an issue that I'm going to continue to push. As your state party chairman, I will push it consistently. I will look to see who's voting with us and who's not voting with us. And let me tell you this. As party chairman, I would be required to be neutral in the primaries, and I will do that. But also as party chairman, part of the duty is to help find and help field good, constitutionally conservative candidates to run as Republican candidates in the primaries. I will be looking for constitutional conservative candidates to run for open seats, to run against Democrats, and to run even for those seats where there might be a Republican in the seat who does not stand with us on our platform issues. This is a battle that we have to be engaged in. You've heard from several of these gentlemen running for President of the United States how important it is, and I agree with them. But I want to be clear on this point. We are all responsible for the situation that we face. Despite the fact that we've been fighting against it for years, we're part of the generation that has built up this debt. It's about to swallow us whole. The fact that we have spent the wealth that's been left to us by the generation that preceded us, often referred to as the greatest generation, that's shameful. But the fact that we've already spent the inheritance of our children and grandchildren and indebted them into a situation that they will never be able to recover from if we don't take care of this now, that is sinful. And I ask you to join with me. Let's speak the truth. If we do that, people will rally around to us here in South Carolina and throughout the rest of the country. And here's what brings me back to the point about registration by party. You need to hear this from me very clearly. If we don't change the law in this particular General Assembly before they adjourn, when we have the 2012 presidential preference primary next year, every single voter in the state of South Carolina will be able to vote in our Republican primary without any consequence to them. Dick Harpootlian, Vince Shaheen, the leader of the Libertarian Party, every single one of them would care to do so, could vote along with you and counteract your vote, counteract your ballot. We can't have that. I'm asking you to stand with me, put the pressure on the General Assembly, talk to your state senators, talk to your state representatives, let's talk to the governor, let's use the law between now and January. We can make that difference. In closing, I'll simply say this. I've not traveled around the state as much as some of my opposition. I have not had that opportunity. I was spending many of those hours working on the lawsuit that we presented to the federal court a few weeks ago to change the law. But I'm out there now. Some people have made commitments. I would ask them to carefully reconsider. What we need to do is go out there and speak the truth and be accurate with our facts. I have more experience in this. I'm the only one of the candidates who's ever run the presidential preference primary in South Carolina. You realize that every year except for 2008, the party has run that primary and paid for it. In 2008, you paid for it because the state of South Carolina ran it, and you paid for it with your tax dollars. In 2012, it's not clear who's going to pay for it. There's a bill pending right now in the General Assembly. The governor has threatened to veto it. Whether that would be vetoed or not, and whether or not the veto would be overridden remains to be seen. I'm preparing for us to run and pay for that primary. I plan to do that. The money will come when the people see the Republican Party is standing on principle. And I'll close with this. I'm running not just because of having pride in the Republican Party. The Republican Party is just another political party unless we make something of what it stands for. Its platform is precious to me. But we have to stand on that platform, run on that platform, and we can win on it. My goal is to make the Republican Party the vehicle for the conservative movement. That's what I believe in. If you believe in that with me and are willing to stand with me in that regard, I ask for your support as your next state chairman. Thank you very much.